Blog Talk Radio.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Meeting of the Minds, our relationship hour. I'm Robert again, and I'm here with Brittany, Jackie, and we're going to have Dan on this time. Say hi, guys.
Hey. Hi.
Hello.
We got a good show for you guys tonight. Talking about a topic that's pretty sensitive, yet well-known pretty much throughout. We're going to discuss body image and the effect that that has on people and their relationships. So I think this is an important issue. You know, it was brought up earlier this month by one of our listeners, and so we decided this is something we should talk about. We thought it was important to make sure that we get it from both sides, though. I mean, obviously, we know that this issue can primarily be, linked to women, but I think men deal with it a lot, especially in this day and age, and so I think it's important. And so we're going to start off by discussing it just as an issue. And I want to start off actually with an article that came out this past week. I know you guys probably heard of it. It's about the Calvin Klein situation. And if you guys don't know what happened, Calvin Klein, I guess, started a new line or whatever, and they wanted to introduce a plus-size model to it. But I guess the plus-size model is like a size 10, and it actually got a lot of backlash from a lot of women because they don't really consider that plus size, and so it really brought out a lot of reactions and emotions because, I don't know, I guess they're considered, a plus size considered size 12, I want to say. That's what I read. I'm not exactly sure, but whatever the case was, it got a lot of heat. So I'm going to start it with there because, there's at least a story maybe once or twice every week about this issue on some level where it gets a reaction. So I want to start off by asking you guys, like, how does this issue, or how has it affected you? Like, what is your experience with it? And what is your experience, with other people, with your friends and your family, and how has it affected your life personally? Brittany, we'll start off with you first.
Jeez. I don't know. I guess you always want to be in shape and look good, but so that's always been a push to try to to look your best all the time. I guess, but I'm really bad at that because I like to sleep and wear elastically banded pants, and I hate working out because it's work. So I don't know. With respect to relationships, I've been dumped before because I gained too much weight. But I would say that's the extent of my experience with body image being a problem or an issue. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I haven't really paid a whole lot of attention to it. So I don't know. That's that for me.
Interesting. Well, I think that for them to say that, for it to bring a public backlash type deal, to say that a size 10 right. is plus size, that further magnifies the fact that most of the people that they have inside their advertisements aren't like regular people that you see out every single day. You know what I'm saying? There are exceptions to where there are women that even after they have kids, they're still a size 1, or a size 2, or even before they have kids, they're size 0 or 00 or whatever that shit is, whatever, you know what I'm saying? But right. As far as it to bring a backlash, a public outcry to say, oh, that's not a plus size is a size 12, not a 10, that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? For that to bring such an outcry about it, that should further open the eyes to that industry to say, okay, well, maybe we should start using plus-size models, actual plus-size models. If a size 12 is a plus size, they should start using those women for more advertising instead of having size 0s or size 00s or size 1s in every single ad they put out. You know what I'm saying? Because every single Victoria's Secret model, every single Victoria's Secret commercial that I see, all those girls are super skinny, they all have abs and all that stuff, but that's not how you see a regular woman on the street every single day, the one that goes to work or the one that stays at home or stuff like that. You don't see women like that every single day. You really don't.
Right, and and it all also depends on proportions. If you're 5'10" and you wear a size 10, it's going to be a lot different than if you're 5 foot or under and wearing a size 10. So,
yeah.
I mean, it's all going to vary. But I mean, those supermodels that are walking the runways and wearing a size 10, they probably still look pretty damn skinny and have a six pack.
Yeah.
So, it's I mean, I'm not a size 10, so I can't say anything on their behalf, but I still wouldn't even consider them a plus size model either. I mean, that would kind of probably enrage some. I could see feeling, okay, yeah, I'm not a size 4, I'm probably a little overweight, but being put in the category of being plus size would probably offend a lot of women. It would kind of hurt some feelings, and I think that was more of what it was than anything.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Right. And that's what's so interesting about this issue is because I don't think, well, especially guys, I don't think they really understand where this really comes from with women. Because I think it'd be hard for you to, especially like teen girls or girls like, the girls in that kind of age bracket, to ask a woman about like what are the things that she's worried about. And weight is usually in the top 3, of most women, especially that I've talked to, and I don't, it's tough because, like, as a man, you're always wanting to tell a girl, like, you're fine. You're always wanting to, it's because to you it's not, I want to say it's not a big deal, but it doesn't seem to be on the level that it seems to be being dealt with girls. And so, like, where does this come from? Where is that fear? Like, what is the counterpoint of that? Where does that start? Because the fear of being fat for girls seems to be on just to be so like strong, and even little girls are talking. They're interviewing girls who are 10 saying I don't want to be fat. Like that's the worst thing that could happen to me. And it seems like does it have to do primarily with finding a man, or where is this coming from? What's the fear? Where does that come from?
I think personally, I'm going to say it could come from the parents. I have a family that on both sides of my family, some of them can be considered obese, and I was always told by my mother to watch what I eat, watch my weight, or I'm going to end up like that. So I've always had that in the back of my mind to, diet and exercise and watch what I eat and, don't eat that extra whatever. So it's always been there. And then on top of that, you have the pressure of, am I pretty enough? Are guys going to like me? Am I slim enough? They like that girl over there. She's a size 2. I'm a size 6, whatever. And it is pressure. So it's a little bit of everything kind of coming in from all angles. But I think it ultimately starts with, I think, family and what is told from your mother or your mother figure or something like that, personally.
I can see that. I me personally, I'm not a girl, so I can't speak for women out there. But I mean, from what I see from outside looking in, I think a lot of it has to do with advertising and the media, honestly, or like the magazines, the People magazines and the OK magazines and all that stuff like that. They personify skinny. Skinny is what the average consumer wants to be. Because, like, say you have a female that's maybe not overweight, but she's not a size 1. You know what I'm saying? Or like a young girl, a teenage girl. She's not overweight. She's not super skinny, but she's kind of in the middle. But she sees advertisements of females that are in bathing suits and they're super skinny and stuff like that. Like, I want to be like that. That's what I want to be. She can get any man she wants to get. That's what I want. Stuff like that. So they start getting this stuff embedded in their mind at a young age. So when it gets to the point where they're older, it's already there, and it becomes like a thing where they don't have to think about it. I don't ever want to be that big. I don't ever want to fit into a size 8 jeans. I always want to be in a size 4 and under or something like that. That's the way I look at it, because everything nowadays is media driven. Everything media driven, advertisements, TV shows, stuff like that. It's all about how the public views it, and it's all about how these companies put their products out there. And it's sad, but I think that most companies will put if they had to choose between a girl that's a size 1 or a girl that's a size 10, they're going to pick the girl that's a size 1 every time, you know. And it's sad, but it's the reality of it because of the fact that sex sells, you know. If you want people to notice your product that you're trying to sell, you're going to put the sexiest female out there that you can get because you want to sell your product.
I don't think that that's just limited to women either. I mean, I would have to say that with respect to the magazines, yeah, there might be women models, but if you look at any of the content of the magazine, it's always about 10 ways to get your first date or 10 ways to get the guy to like you, or it's not even just about like the females in the pictures. It's the content of the magazine has to do with how to snag your man. Whereas men's magazines are about like what kind of creatine to take with your workout. I mean, like it's not the same at all. And you don't see ugly men in any of the advertisements either. They're all chiseled, very good-looking men. And so it's not to say that, you know, there are ugly women or ugly men who are cast next to beautiful females in these advertisements. The men are just as beautiful as the women.
Yeah,
so I would have to say that it's not just geared towards women. I mean, I think that's true of irrespective of advertisement. I think that's still true of human beings in general. Like what's pleasing to the eye is typically not somebody who is, by definition, like by medical definition, obese. I mean, that's not something that people like find pleasing to the eye, and that's just from an aesthetic point of view, that's just people because it says something about you inherently. If you are good looking and you are well built, you must take care of yourself. And that there's an attraction to that concept, this concept that you take care of yourself, that you care about your body, that you care about your appearance, that you must be well groomed and you eat right and blah, blah, blah. And there's so much behind just looking at somebody like that. Whereas people who are obese tend to have people think of them as like they're slobs or they're lazy or, there's all these connotations or rather like negative insinuations about somebody who happens to be overweight or not a size 0, that there's implications to that, they're about their lifestyle and their personal life and their hygiene and all these other things, whether or not, they could ever be a size 0, but they're still labeled to be all these other negative things just by looking at them. You can make no other judgments just looking at them. People have associated that with a whole bunch of other things. So you're right, you're not going to have somebody who's a size 10 representing your brand if you want anyone to take your brand seriously, and that's a problem. So, but if you're being honest, everybody will judge each other that way, and that's just kind of how it is, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what's so interesting because especially when you start talking about how do you quote unquote fix this or how does this get better? Because like I've always said, when I hear people, trying to help people and talk to girls about it, they're just like, oh no, you're beautiful, that go down that kind of a road. But these girls go to school every day. They see who guys pursue, like you said, they see the magazines. And so to me, I started thinking like, how do you really approach this? Because obviously it's so, especially as a guy, it's easy to want to, your girl or a girl that is struggling with that. You just want to tell her, no, it's not like that. You're fine. Guys, it's really not like that and all that. But how do you really go against that? Because the thing about this issue is that you see it every day. You see who people hook up with. Very rarely you go to the mall, you notice people who aren't on the same physical level if they're a couple. And it's I don't know how I don't know how that sounds, but I know you do. You know what I mean? Like you notice it. You may not say anything. It may just be a glimpse, but you would recognize somebody who were different or on different levels physically. But when it comes to solutions, what do you really think is how we go down this road in terms of not necessarily changing that, because like you guys said, it's kind of like that's just the way it is. But I have to believe there's something we can do or something, something you can, a mindset you can get to that is healthier than really worrying about this 24/7. Because, these stats are ridiculous. You really look at the stats. It's some pretty sad stats out there. They say from 5th, 12th grade girls, 47% wanting to lose weight because of magazine pictures, and 69% said that magazine pictures influence the idea of the perfect body. I mean, those are pretty ridiculous numbers. You know, I mean, that's not, you know, so this stuff isn't just fluff. So where do you guys think we need to go from here? Like, how would you talk to girls, like, and really be able to be honest with them, or guys, you know? What do you guys think about that?
I think as far as girls, like, number one, and it's hard for most girls, and I haven't even come into it for myself. What I hear from other women is, like, you need to be comfortable with who you are, like, first and foremost, like, with your body, with everything. You are who you are. That's you know, what you were given. Go with it. And there's always going to be somebody out there that's attracted to you. You know, there's guys, really scrawny, skinny guys that like those really big girls. Well, it's always those really big girls with a whole lot of confidence who love their bodies, you know, that put it out there and say, yeah, I'm big. This is what you get. Take it or leave it. Yeah. You know, you just have to be comfortable with who you are, and it doesn't come easy. And you've got to kind of know that those ads are photoshopped, and not all women look like that. I mean, just look around you, look in whatever room you're in full of people. Like, not all women look like that. You need to come to an understanding and know that, and just kind of work with what you have. And, you know, if you want to get slimmer, then surround yourself maybe with slimmer people, because that'll kind of give you a little more motivation. Or, you know, buy that smaller size of pants, because maybe that'll help you get back into them. Or, you know what I mean? But if you're not really concerned with getting any thinner, just, you know, make sure you're around people that aren't pushing you or making you be someone else, or be someone thinner, be someone more beautiful. That's, you know, not what you're going for. You just need to be comfortable with who you are and find yourself before you can even try to, you know, influence or try to have a relationship with a man that wants something different or wants you just for who you are. You just have to, you have to learn to love yourself.
Yeah. That's the last thing that a woman that thinks that she's overweight wants to hear from a dude that she's kind of interested in, you know, is, hey, you get kind of big. You know, that's the last thing that they want to hear. Honestly, you know, and the dude, you know, he probably will have the best intentions in the world. You know, like he probably, and I say this with a whole heart, he will probably never talk down on her, you know, in that sense. And he's coming at it probably with a whole heart. But at the same time, like you said, is you have to own it. You know, I always say that. I say that at work all the time. I say it in anything. You have to own it. You know what I mean? Like, when I say you have to own it is whatever you do, you know, you have to put your all into it. You have to own it. If your goal is to lose weight, you have to put your everything you have into it instead of putting half effort, you know, and then saying, oh, it didn't work, I'm going to eat this cheeseburger. You know, like you have to, you got to own it, you know. That's a lot. That's what I have to do with it. And as far as what Robert said, as far as what we think we can do, you know, I think it's going to take a cultural change to change that, the mindset of young women coming up in this world, you know. It is. It's going to take something big to change the culture, because the culture that we live in right now is skinny sales, you know, sex sales. You know, that's the culture right now. And I honestly think that it's going to take a company or someone big or something that has a big influence on the masses to start promoting not just skinny women to change that. That's the only way it's going to change, because I feel like it's just anything else. It's just going to get worse. You know, it is, because of the fact that these companies are making money off of this. You know, and that's the kind of society we live in. It's all about money. If I'm going to make money by putting this chick in my advertisements, I'm going to put her in there. You know, if I can make $2 million instead of $750,000 by putting this one girl in there instead of this girl, I'm going to do that. And it's going to take a change. It's going to have to be a change, a collective change as a whole.
It's even before advertisements, though, and it's subtle, and I don't even think people realize it. So at work, I don't work with the pediatric population, but when I did work with the pediatric population, the facility that I worked at, we were not allowed, when we were introduced to little girls, we were not allowed to say, oh, what a cute shirt, oh, what cute pigtails. we weren't allowed to talk about, in order to identify with her or relate to her or get the little girl to like us, we were not allowed to talk about her physically. We don't do that with little boys. You don't, yes, with little boys, you don't say, oh, what a cute shirt, oh, what cute shoes. You say, oh, what's your favorite subject in school? What's your favorite book? Do you like dinosaurs? We talk about their interests. With little girls, we don't do that. We say, oh, I like your pigtails. Oh, your pink shirt's so pretty. Oh, what's your favorite princess? Like, we don't talk about their interests or anything that they're good at other than being cute. And so from a very little age, we teach them that their aesthetics are the most important thing about them because that's all that we pay attention to about them. So at work, we're not allowed to do that. You have to say, what's your favorite book? What is your favorite, subject in school? You have to talk about the little girl. You can't talk about what she's wearing or what she looks like. And people don't even realize they do that, but you do that to little girls at like age 3, age 2, and you don't do that to little boys. You don't ask little boys, oh, cute T-shirt. They're like, okay, lady, like whatever, but like in order to identify with a little boy or him to want to do what you need him to do, at work, you identify with him in a different way instead of asking about him. And so I think it's very subtle, but we don't even realize we do it to people, to little kids at such a young age. I mean, it's ingrained from a very young age.
It's absolutely true because I have a 3-year-old, and I never thought I'd hear her say, "Oh, Mama, that girl is fat." And I'm like, "Oh my God, that just came out of my 3-year-old's mouth." Like, and and I see people like, "Oh, you're so cute. Oh, you're so adorable." Da 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 da. And she takes it. She sits there and she soaks it all in. And yet, you know what? That is probably not the best thing for her. But yeah, once you hear those harsh words come out of someone's mouth, why is she so fat? Like, oh, that kills, that hurts. And that's when you notice that, body image starts at a really young age. Even, not that we're getting into a whole other subject, but even race at that age. Like, she doesn't consider herself black, and she's a half black girl. She doesn't realize. So it's like anything. At a very young age, they absorb everything. So it probably does need to start at that level. Yeah.
I agree with that. That's true.
That's interesting because, the diet industry is a $55 billion industry. Like, that's insane number to me. Like, it really is. You're talking about over 59% of girls are trying to lose weight at any given time. You're talking about over the last 30 days, 18% of girls have starved themselves for a day or more to lose weight. I mean, like I said, as a man, when I started thinking about this topic and I started researching it, it just blew my mind. Like, it really did. Because, like you said, as a guy, you really don't think about it that much. It really is not a part of how you look at life and what you really think is available to you. And I know it was kind of funny or kind of interesting, like last time we started talking about instinct, and that's what I think this is. This seems to be hitting at a very basic instinctual level because it seems to be like it doesn't seem to really be rational, but at the same time, it's coming from somewhere, and that if it's deep in everybody and every woman like that, and honestly, I don't want to leave out guys either because I mean, this is an issue for guys too, and
it's true,
especially more and more. I mean, this is an issue for guys because, like, as a guy, you also don't see, girls talking about I want an ugly guy either. And so you're, I know guys are known to be like that, but you're not hearing that from girls either. I don't see girls, hanging pictures of their, posters in their room of guys who aren't, attractive or whatnot. But it seems to me now. No, go ahead.
I think Rob, honestly, I think it's a viewpoint from the outside in. Like with dudes. When guys, I talked about this in my sociology class in college, and we discussed how aging, how do you want to say this? The viewpoint of aging is from sexes between women and for men. One of the big things that got brought up was like the world's most what's that guy from the Dos Equis commercials? Most interesting man of the world. That guy. He's an older gentleman. He has gray hair, but he always has younger, attractive women around him. You know what I'm saying? So when guys age, the way that society views it is they get wisdom. When they get gray hair means wisdom. You get a beer belly, it's not really that bad of a thing because dudes most of the time are, you're supposed to get a beer belly or so, but it's acceptable. If a guy has a big old gut, why not? He's lived a long time. He has gray hair. He's got a beer belly. He's lived a while. He's got wisdom. But when it comes to women, as they get older, they try to look younger as possible because of the fact that aging with women means how do they put it? They said like you're used up type deal. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but it's like you passed your prime. And that's the way that society views it. They view it as men get older, they get wiser, they become more attractive as they get older, and women as they get older, they become more unattractive and they become less valuable as far as looks wise. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And that's what's so interesting too, because I know men deal with hair loss. I know that's an issue. That would be a physical issue that I know a lot of guys, as they get older, will start to struggle with. I think it was interesting that Brittany said, too, was that I believe this does start, before all that stuff, all the advertising and all, the media, because you definitely do see it, in just the littlest girls. When you see, older people look at little girl babies, oh, she's so cute, oh, she's so beautiful. I mean, that's all you hear. You don't hear anything. You don't hear that at all with guys. You don't see guys, or people approaching little boys that way at all.
No.
And so, because now you have all of these, these new terms of fat shaming, and, all of these different colloquialisms you want to attribute to this issue. But what I want to know is, if every woman got to their desired weight, do you think this would be a moot point at that point? Would that be the end of it? Is just getting to your desired weight? Is that what's the key, or will it or would it not be that way? What is?
I don't
what
think
would
so.
you think? You don't think so?
No, I think once you get to your desired weight, you're gonna find something else. You're going to say, okay, now I have these wrinkles. Now I have these stretch marks. Maybe now I have, that I want to take care of. It's always going to be something, especially with women, because they pick out their biggest flaws that they see, because they're their biggest critics. They pick out their flaws, and they will pick at them one at a time. They get to their desired weight, now they need to, clear up their skin, whatever. It's always going to be something. Image is always going to be, it's going to be ongoing, no matter what. So it's do you stress yourself out over it, or do you just accept for what you have and go with it?
You're right. I agree. I completely agree with you on that, because it's just like anything else. Whenever somebody gets a lot of money, they're always going to want more money.
Right.
It's the same thing as when you reach your goals, as far as any kind of goal, whether it be losing weight or hitting a milestone at work or something, anything. Once you get to that level, you're always going to want to pursue more, because it's in our nature. It's in human nature to want more, no matter what your goal is as far as losing weight. As soon as you get to that point, you're going to find something else to try to improve. Exactly what you said. It's just human nature. We're always going to be striving for more. We always want more. We always need more to fulfill whatever it is that's inside of us that's pushing us to get to a certain look,
Well, that's sort of a sad statement to make, in the sense that it would seem as though that means that we'll never be satisfied with who we are. And that's a shameful thing to think. I mean, you should always be, at some point you should be satisfied with who you are. So you would hope that, fine, get to your desired weight. You're satisfied with the fact that you look the way you did, and you did it. I understand that this concept of picking ourselves apart, but there's only so much self-deprecation before it's just okay, find something else to be upset over, because being a size 2 ain't that bad. You know what I mean? Having a pimple or two, it just ain't that bad. There's got to be worse things in life. If that's your biggest issue, I mean, there are some kids in some third world countries who wish their biggest issue was they weren't a size 2. You know what I'm saying? So it's just at what point are we satisfied with who we are? I mean, does it ever get there, or is it just you're going to constantly strive to be better? I mean, you're racing against time then forever, just to never enjoy the thing that you finally got to, and that sucks. So, I mean,
it really does. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll say this one last thing before we move on. You hear consistently that you need to like yourself and you need to love yourself, and most people struggle because they're like, well, how do you actually go about doing that? And my advice is, I think when you want to change anything, you have to start with being thankful. I think if you really want to change anything about yourself, especially this, you got to start with being thankful. You got to be thankful for what you do have. You got to be thankful for what does work for you. And like Brittany said, you got to realize, look around. Sometimes we get so caught up, and we have to just stop sometimes and realize that, we really are thankful to have what we have. And I know there's something in your life you can be thankful for. And you're going to have to fight. I don't want to sugarcoat it. You're going to have to fight for this. If you really want to get to a place of peace within yourself, and you really want to get to a point where you can enjoy your body and enjoy your life, you're going to have to fight for it. It's not going to come easy, because there are things every day that are going to come against that. And so if you're not prepared to fight for it, if you don't really want it, then it's not going to be yours. And you will live your life, hating yourself. And it's just such a tragedy for it to be that way, because it doesn't have to be like that. But you're going to have to fight for it.
Yep.
But now I want to go into, how does this area of body image affect our relationships? How does this show up in our relationships? Because obviously, every guy that I know, and I'm sure Dan, we've all had to deal with this on some level at some point. And I know personally it has affected relationships in the past. And there is a lot of things that are going to be affected if you or your woman, are not liking yourself, especially not liking your body, especially when it comes to sex, obviously. But it's not limited to just that. It really isn't. So how do you guys feel like that has affected your relationships, or where do you see it affecting relationships? We'll start with Dan first this time, and then go to the ladies.
Honestly, I think this whole subject with relationships, I feel that it affects. I don't want to say it affects like how do you want to put it? Seasoned relationships, like if you've been in a relationship with somebody for a long time, that's kind of on the back burner for the most part, because if you're that deep into a relationship, that's the last thing you're worried about is somebody's weight. That's really on the back burner for the most part, if I want to put it like that. I think it affects new relationships more than seasoned relationships, because of the fact that when you meet somebody, like say, I don't know, I've met females before at like bars or clubs or something like that, and they're looking good, and then you start getting in a relationship with them, and gradually over time they start putting on a little weight. And like I have a buddy that's dating a girl right now, and when they got together, I remember seeing her when they got together. She was maybe, 120 pounds-ish, 130 pounds or something like that. They've been together for 5 or 6 months, and I've seen her for the first time in 4 months, and she weighs maybe 180 pounds. And I didn't even recognize her. I was like, holy shit. Like, what happened? I didn't even know what happened. So I started talking to him. I was trying to feel him out a little bit to see what was going on. And he was like, dude, I don't know what happened, bro. Like, I don't know, man. And he doesn't even know what happened, And he said he started seeing it gradually over time and blah, blah, blah. And I asked him, I said, so what are you going to do about it? And he's like, I don't really know how to approach it, because I don't want to come to her and tell her that she's getting big, because then I'm going to come off like a dickhead, like I'm going to come off like an asshole, and then this is going to start a fight, and I don't really know how to approach that, so I just let it go. I'm like, dude, you got to at least talk to her about it, to see what's going on, because obviously something's going on for her to put on that much weight in that short amount of time. Something's going on. Something's happening for that to occur, So
well, Dan, it is. I do understand. When I see women get in relationships, they do gain weight. And she knows she's gaining weight. She knows she's put on that 50 pounds. Like, she knows. So it's not like he has to approach and point it out to her, because she knows it's there. It's more like a subtle, hey, maybe we should join LA Fitness. Hey, maybe we should start walking up Mount Rubidoux every once in a while. You know what I mean? Like, she knows the pounds are there. They've been there. They've been creeping up on her. She's probably not pregnant, hopefully. But, she knows they're there, so he doesn't need to point them out. Now, if he likes her for her, then he needs to find a subtle way to help her, get it back down, bring it back down, start eating a little healthier. You tend to go out more when you're with someone new and it's a new relationship. You do gain weight. It's just, my husband's a fireman, for all you people that don't know. And he's not home, days at a time. And when he's not home, I don't eat very much. Like, I can eat a bowl of cereal for dinner and I'll be good. I lose more weight when he's not home. As soon as he gets home for 4 days, I could probably put on 3 pounds. So it's like you guys find comfort in eating and hanging out and watching movies. And maybe they need to find more physical activities to do, And women know, she knows that weight's there. For sure.
That's what I figured. That's what I figured. I figured that she would know, that's happening, But I just asked him if he had noticed, because I'm sure he did. But as a friend, I wanted to make sure that he had noticed. I know I noticed. What happened? But I wanted to make sure that he noticed. And I was asking just as a friend how he was going to go about, approaching her. How are you going to approach this fact? Because I know you see it, because I see it, and I haven't seen her in 4 months. So I know you see her every day for the most part. So how are you going to approach this? And he pretty much just told me that he doesn't know. He didn't know, because every time he would bring it up, it was like he was attacking her. He flat out told me, he's like, I can't even bring up going for a walk or going to the gym or eating better. He couldn't bring up anything like, let's do some sit-ups before we go to sleep, or let's go over here and pull up on the little door, the pull-up bars you put inside your door frame inside your house. He was telling her, get one of those guys so they could do that inside the house. He said every time that he talked to her about it, it was like he was attacking her, and it was just a huge fight. So he just pretty much gave up. And I asked him, I literally asked him, I said, so what are your plans? Do you plan on being with her, or what's the deal? And they're pretty serious, and he's like, I like her, or, I like her, but this is pretty big. In his mind, it's a big deal, but in her mind, it's, I guess it's not, or I don't know, but in his mind it is. And I don't know how much longer they're going to be together because of that. I really don't.
Well, you know what I find that works is if once one of the person in the relationship starts to get healthy and work out and they can see like a physical change, the other person kind of clicks in and says, oh, maybe I should do that too. So, maybe he should start joining the gym and getting his six-pack in, and maybe she'll be like, oh, maybe I should get off my ass and maybe do something too.
Yeah, that's true.
That always helps, but it's kind of subtle.
That's true. That's true. Oh God. But yeah, that's what I think about. That's just a scenario that I had, it's a real life type deal, but I don't know. It's to me it shouldn't have an effect on relationship status, because if you're with somebody, you're with them because you like them or you love them. You know what I'm saying? It shouldn't have an effect on the relationships, the aura or the attitude towards the relationship with that person. It really shouldn't. But in most cases, it does. And I've seen it. I've seen it a lot. I've been around this. I've been around the world. And I've seen a lot of couples. I've seen a lot of people. I've seen a lot of people get together and break up. And I've seen it happen. And it's sad, but it's a reality. It just is.
What do you think, Brittany? Because I know you've had experience with this personally, and I'm curious.
Yeah.
I
have. Well, okay, so I'm about 110 pounds, and I moved to San Diego with my boyfriend of 5 years, and I was about 135 at my heaviest, and that had a huge effect on our relationship to the point where we finally split. But, yeah, it affected the way that he interacted with me and, like, the attention that he paid me and lots of things. It was wholly terrible. And I had to deal with that for a little while. But I think, like, he brought it to my attention in a few, like, how shall we say, less than sensitive ways. And I think my reaction to that was sort of like, F you. And so rather than doing what he wanted me to do, I just didn't. And I think it had a lot to do with feeling like I wasn't good enough. And It was like, if after 5 years I'm not good enough at 135 pounds, and the only way to be good enough is to be 110, I'm just going to let this ride. And that's exactly what I did. And it finally it ended because he actually, ironically enough, pocket dialed me on accident while talking to another girl. And she asked him, like, why are you dating her if, like, you're not, you're not into her anymore? And he's like, well, I love her. I'm just not attracted to her anymore. And it was hugely because, like, it was wholly because of the 25 pounds I had gained. And, like, and in fairness to him, in a very short window of time. But, like, after 5 years, you're like, oh, love is eternal and totally doesn't, like, love knows no bounds and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, I know the 25-pound bound. So, it just depends. Like, and, like, that has something to do with, like, the individual that I picked to date that long. But, at the same time, like, you just feel really terrible about yourself. Like, geez, like, I had no idea, like, 25 pounds was going to be, the make it or break it point. But it was. It wasn't like I lost a limb or, like, I got into an accident and got, like, just disfigured. It was like I ate too many cheeseburgers for way too long, and that was, like, a huge problem. So, it ended, and it probably would have anyway for some other reason, but, yeah, that does something to your self-esteem to know that, like, well, you're not good enough anymore. Like, you were for 4.5 years, but now, I don't know. So that, that'll do something to you, but, you have to look at the bigger picture ultimately, and it's like, well, if that was going to be the reason that we ended it was 25 pounds, then, like, there would have been something else eventually, so... Yeah. It's hard to feel good about yourself when you know that's part of the reason, but at the same time, it's just like I didn't want to do anything about it for somebody else. If I was okay with myself, and I knew, like, just as Jackie pointed out, like, I knew I was getting bigger. Like, pants didn't fit. Like, it was embarrassing. Like, it was bad, but it's just like I just didn't want to do it for him. I wanted to do it for me. And so that was another point of contention as well. So, I don't know. That was my experience with it, but that wasn't, like, that's not a beneficial contributory comment, but, that was my experience with it. But and the minute that I got rid of him, then I wasn't as big as I was. So, I think that being sad and being depressed or being unhappy, like, that is something that will make people bigger. If you become angry, I think that has, like, a physical effect on people. So, like, the more depressed or the more angry or the more, like, as Dan pointed out, something is wrong going on in your life, something is wrong, the bigger people get. And that might be, like, a very blanket statement, but, like, if something's wrong, you start to care less about yourself. And so, that'll take effect because you're like, well, like, this cheeseburger is really good and it makes me feel good. Or, like, this like, Ben & Jerry's ice cream is, like, got the best Cherry Garcia on earth, and that'll make me feel better. But after, like, having 75, like, baby Cherry Garcias, you've gained 75 pounds. And then it's like, oh, shit, now I'm unhappy about that. So, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. That was my experience anyway.
I have a question. So I know I've been married for 8 years now, so I've been out of the dating game for a long time. But I have a lot of single buddies, and a lot of them, they tell me, like, I have one friend, he's in a relationship now, but prior to him getting into a relationship with this girl, he was dating a lot of women that he found on Tinder and Poof or whatever that was. But he's telling me, he said, dude, he's like, I don't know what it is, and I'm pretty sure dudes do this also, but I can't speak for it. But anyways, he said, whenever I meet a female, a woman, she's in like, and she's got the single woman body, like she's skinny, she's in shape, and then once we get together and we're dating, it goes away. And I asked him, I was like, so what do you think that is? He's like, dude, I don't know. I think they just do that so they can get a dude, and then once they get the dude, they just say, fuck it. I was like, oh, God. I know there's dudes that do that. I'm pretty sure there is. But is that true? Is that really a true thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right.
It really is. And it sucks because, like, being a married woman, okay, so I had my first child, and all women know your body's not going to be the same after a kid. And now that I've seen what it happens to the first child, I'm so scared to have a second one. That, I'm so scared what it's going to do, how I'm going to be, if he's still going to find me attractive, if I should start saving money for cosmetic surgery. It's like it's stressful, and there's a lot of pressure there, and that's one thing that could majorly affect, a relationship, a marriage, Yeah. And then you look at these women, you're like, she's totally single. She's thin. She doesn't have a stretch mark. She, her parts are all in the right place. Nothing's, nothing's dropped. So it's like you can definitely tell the difference between someone who's married and maybe has a couple of kids compared to someone who's single and is out on the prowl.
Yeah. Yeah,
well,
you can notice.
Part of that too,
I can tell.
I think some of that too, though. Sorry, is that like you, like as a girl, anyway. Well, I'll speak for myself. That you're going to be in shape or whatever, or you'll be more attentive to that when you're single than when you're dating somebody, because you become complacent. And I think too that when you gain weight, or like Jackie, like if you have a kid, like it's not just that you're concerned about that for your partner. It's like you're used to seeing yourself a certain way. So if that changes, it makes you upset. It's not like you're not just eating well and like working out, or maybe you're not doing whatever you're doing on a daily just for other people. Like you do that too because you're used to what you see and you have a certain baseline that you maintain. And when that changes, you're like, okay, like what is this shenanigans, And so it's not just like about your significant other. It's also like, I'm used to seeing myself this way and now I don't. And that can be like anxiety riddled. It's just like, oh crap, now what? So like we do it for us too. We do it for ourselves too. It's not just for everybody else to appreciate. It's also for us. And so if that gets squirrely, then it's like, well, wait a minute, so.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's true. Well, it's the same thing for guys, honestly. It really is. Because I know when I was in the Army, I was in really good shape because we ran every day. Every morning we got up in the morning and worked out for 3 hours or 2 hours or whatever it was. It was every single day of the week, Monday through Friday, pretty much. Not Saturday, Saturday. Well, sometimes Saturday. But anyway, it was every day of the week. And when I got out of the military, I didn't want to work out at all. I didn't want to run. I didn't want to do any sit-ups. I didn't want to look at a treadmill. I was like, oh no. So it took one day I got out of the shower and I was looking in the mirror. I was like, oh shit. Like, I can't see my abs anymore. They're going away. Like, oh no. It took that for me to be like, okay, I got to start doing something. I got to start running or walking or sit-ups or something, anything to get back to, like you said, that baseline, because I was used to seeing myself a certain way, and that one day I saw myself and I was like, oh, hey, something changed, this isn't me, what's going on here, and it took a little bit to do that, and it took work, but I'm back to that point, but it literally opened my eyes, and I'm pretty sure that it's happened to all of us, where it's like, oh shit, I gotta get back to the way I'm used to seeing myself, and it goes the same way for guys, it really does. I mean, I know I'm no Charlie Hunnam, Sons of Anarchy, all beautiful and stuff, but I'm Dan.
Right. I mean, I think it's interesting because, one thing about weight, especially what I'm hearing, I'm really listening now, is what comes to my mind is it seems like to be a lot of times a symptom for a lot of other issues. A lot of times weight, kind of just is a thing that everyone sees, but really it's this, or it's really that, just like, you're having a cold, not because every time, you feel sick, you get a blood test, but, because of the symptoms, and it seems like it's the same way with weight too, because, like Dan was talking about, it's like, what are you going to do? And obviously Jackie chimed in because it's a sensitive issue, for both people, but especially women, because you can't, there's certain things as a guy you learn, certain places you just can't go. But if it's affecting you, a lot of times maybe it's not the weight, maybe it is something else. Maybe it's just easy to say, or it seems like it, but could be something else, And I remember when Brittany was going through that, and I remember when I heard about it, I remember the first thing I thought personally was, that's something I would believe like he would do, or something like he would say. And it was
Right.
so funny because me at that point, it wasn't about like, a guy talking about a girl's weight, but it was like that type of guy would say something like that, and that's why it didn't shock me. So it was funny because a lot of times it can be attributed to character, because if something bugs you, if something bugs you, it bugs you, but it's also important to know why it's bugging you. You know what I mean? And a lot of times,
in this case, Robert, like that particular character, for this particular individual, it bothers him because it was a reflection of him. See, like he was a very vain person, and the way that I looked reflected on how he looked. So yes, and it was like, if I take care of myself, what's your excuse? And so that was very much about him. Like the way that I looked was very much about him. And so if I wasn't like, on my A game, then that it was like, well, then then people are starting to ask him questions like, well, what's wrong with you? And it's like, nobody cares about you, dude. Like, no one's asking you what's wrong with you. They might be asking you what's wrong with me, but they're not, what I mean? But it was a direct reflection of who he was to be dating somebody who looked like that. So,
And a lot of times that's what it is. It really is, because the people, like you said, people you see being jerks, they don't like themselves. I've never seen somebody I thought was a jerk, or thought was just a dig, and thought like, oh, this fool really, is coming from a good place, I never, it's a lot of times it's, but like Brittany said, like she had to make a decision, just like Jackie, Jackie too was talking about, I am afraid to have another child because of what could possibly happen, because it is a real thing, but at the end of the day, you do have to make a decision. You have to decide whether you're going to allow something to affect you or not. But let's not kid ourselves. It's not easy. And that's why I want to go back. That's what I really want this show to be about, because there's plenty of things to tell you what you want to hear, but we need to face what it is and really find out, what are the things that we can do that actually work in reality, because there's a lot of things that don't work in reality. If you're a woman and you're telling me you're not struggling with that at all and that you're popping out babies, you're not worried about it, I know you're lying. You're not helping anybody, because you need to know this, I think women now can experience what Brittany went through and say, yes, but there's life afterwards. She didn't die. She didn't fall off the cliff. The world didn't end. She's still lovable. She's still a great person. Jackie, is who she is, and Brad's still loving her, and Brad's going to continue to keep loving her, but I want to know what works. I want to know what's realistic. I want you to be able to know what you can really expect from these situations, so you're not so afraid of them, because they're a lot bigger, when you look at them, than they actually are when you actually decide to make a decision to face it head on. But, it's like I said, it's tough. And any advice you get, anything you read, anything you listen to that's telling you it's not, that's trying to give you a way out, that all you have to do is say 5 things, you're good, it's just not realistic. You're not going to get help that way. Anything legitimate is going to be hard. Anything that you're going to want to keep or get and you want to keep it, it's going to be hard. And if you're not, accepting that reality, then you're going to get what you're going to get. But there's no answer that's not going to have to go through some kind of process within yourself. That's going to be tough, and you're going to have to deal with those things. So we got about 7 minutes left. I want to go around and give you guys the last thoughts on what we talked about tonight, and then we'll end the show. So, Jackie, go ahead.
I think my last thoughts are, you need to be comfortable with yourself, and you need to do what it takes to make you happy first, and if the guy that you're with is not going to like you for that, partial weight gain or whatever, then it's really not a guy that you probably should be with. It's not worth it. You need to do what makes you happy. You need to be the person that you want to be. If you want to lose that 25 pounds, then you need to put, like Dan said, you need to put 100% into it and do it and get to that and reach that goal if that's what's going to take from you to be happy with yourself. As far as in marriages, I mean, again, if you're married to a man that decides that he's not into how you've changed, how your body's changed, then that's not the type of person that you ultimately should be with. And it's not the end of the world. I mean, life's going to go on. Someone's going to find you and love you for who you are, and that's awesome. And I do think that our society in some ways is going in the right direction. I mean, if you look at Dove commercials, they praise women's bodies for all shapes and sizes. You know, people are trying to add the plus size models. You know, the actors on TV nowadays, they're not as beautiful as they used to be, you know, back in the 40s and 50s when, you know, they had the actors that were absolutely gorgeous. Nowadays, it's like, you know, you get the overweight, heavy, you know, actors, and it's awesome. And hopefully that starts really changing people's, you know, views of how a person's body should be. So on that note, I mean, just love who you are. You got to start with yourself before you can worry about anyone else.
That's very true. Yeah, I think honestly that from this topic that we're talking about, you know, it has a lot to do with the way that people view themselves, you know, and if you see an ad or you see a magazine or you see anything like that, you know, you got to realize that is tailored to attract attention. You know, it's not real life. You know, it's not even nowhere. It's not even close to being real life. You know, the average person is not going to be inside of a magazine. You know, and I think a lot of people that read magazines or take to heart, you know, what magazines are saying as far as weight or what advertising is saying as far as weight, they take it to heart. You know, and I think that's wrong because of the fact that they're using that to bring you in, you know, to gain your attention. It's not real life. It's not even close to being real life. You know? It for me, when I look at that kind of stuff, you know, like I look at my wife, you know, she's had 2 kids, and I think she's more beautiful now than she was when we got together. You know, I honestly believe that wholeheartedly, and I know that like I remember we were talking to Mr. Solution, you know, and the thing came up that I was a unicorn or something like that because I was the one guy that actually decided to be in a relationship with a girl that I had been with for forever. I don't think that I'm a unicorn. You know, I honestly believe that there are dudes out there that truly want to be with someone no matter how they look. You know, they don't care. You know, and I think that there should be more people out there like that because of the fact that it will make the world a better place. It really will. You know, so I don't. It just when it comes to weight, you know, it's a real sensitive topic. You know, it really is, and it's starting to become more of a sensitive topic with dudes, not just women. It's honestly starting to become a big thing with men because of the society we live in. You know, and right. It's a big thing, but it's sensitive at the same time. But we still need to talk about it. You know, even after, if anybody's listening to this, even after, you know, this conversation that we're having right now, there should be more discussions about it because of the fact that it is such a big thing in our society, but it is also one of those things where it's kind of touchy. You know, it's one of those things where you kind of got to tread on water a little bit because you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but you also want to get your point across. You know, so that's the way I think about it.
I would just say that what makes you unique is not whether or not you're a size 2, and that's that. I mean, it really is as simple as that. So, and if you do think that what makes you unique is whether or not you're a size 2, I think you really need to evaluate what you consider to be important about yourself and about other people. So maybe take some time to have an introspective moment if whether or not you're a size 2 makes it or breaks it for you. So.
And that's the same for me. Yeah. Like I said, I just want there to be discussion. I want, hopefully, like I always say, I want to provoke thought. And I just want you to have to think about it because, you know, this stuff isn't going away, and this world will beat you down if you let it, and it'll tell you you're terrible and horrible, and all you need to do to get better is buy this, you know, or just get a man, or whatever the case may be. But if nothing else, I just ask that you be thankful, Start there. If nothing else, just start there. Start being thankful for what you do have, and you'll start to see yourself being able to start making progress. But I want to thank you guys again. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Brittany. And we shall see you guys next week. Thank you for listening.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.